Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to imagine a moment in history where the world thought it knew the next move of a country. But it was completely wrong. Everyone was watching, analyzing, predicting, but they missed it. Why? Because they were looking in the wrong direction. They were measuring with their rules, their timelines, their assumptions. And that is exactly what I want to talk to you about today. Why the West never saw Pakistan's next big move coming. You see, the biggest lessons often come from the places people least expect. Success is not always loud. Sometimes it is quiet, patient, invisible to the outside eye, but unstoppable in its impact. Today, I will take you on a journey behind the scenes, into the mindset, the strategies, and the vision that turned what seemed impossible into reality. We will see how patience, preparation, and understanding of your own strengths can create surprises that shock even the most powerful. By the end of this talk, you will not just understand why Pakistan's next move was unexpected. You will see principles you can apply in your own life, in your own business, and in your own challenges. You will learn that the future belongs to those who prepare quietly, think boldly, and act at the perfect moment. So stay with me, because what you are about to hear is not just history. It is a blueprint for thinking differently, acting strategically, and winning in a world that expects you to fail. The underestimation of local context is central to understanding why the West often misses Pakistan's strategic intentions. Much of the Western perspective tends to be shaped by historical narratives and conventional frameworks that have been applied for decades. Analysts, policymakers, and media frequently rely on simplified models of a nation's behavior, looking at past conflicts, economic instability, or political volatility as indicators of future actions. This approach creates a mental shortcut where Pakistan is seen through a lens of limitations rather than potential. The problem with this lens is that it ignores the unique cultural, social, and historical factors that influence decision-making within the country. Pakistan's society and governance are informed by decades of regional experience, an understanding of local dynamics, and a capacity to navigate complexities that may appear chaotic to outsiders but are highly logical within their own context. Western observers often focus on surface-level indicators such as economic statistics, military posturing, or headline politics, but they rarely account for the subtleties of local intelligence, networks, and long-term planning. The assumptions made on this basis frequently lead to misinterpretation of Pakistan's strategic patience and calculated risk-taking. What may look like indecision or reactive behavior is often deliberate positioning, a method of gathering resources, allies, and information until the right moment to act decisively. Additionally, the West sometimes underestimates the role of informal systems, like tribal influence, local economic networks, or community-based strategies that operate outside the conventional institutional frameworks familiar to Western powers. These systems often enable Pakistan to make moves that are unexpected, yet highly effective, because they are invisible to those relying solely on traditional analytical methods. Another aspect of this underestimation is the cultural gap in perceiving time and consequences. Western analysis often emphasizes short-term gains and measurable outcomes, whereas Pakistan's strategic thinking frequently embraces long-term vision, incremental progress, and the ability to adapt in real time to evolving circumstances. This difference in perspective can make Western powers appear surprised when Pakistan executes moves that, in hindsight, were predictable if one understood the local context. The lack of nuanced understanding creates a blind spot, where Western analysts fail to anticipate actions not because Pakistan's plans are secret, but because they are rooted in a framework of thinking that Western observers rarely adopt or value in the same way. This misreading, therefore, is less about intelligence failures and more about perspective failures. The West often sees Pakistan through a mirror of its own assumptions rather than the reality on the ground, which makes every calculated move seem sudden and unpredictable from the outside while being entirely logical from within. The power of quiet preparation is one of the most underestimated elements in strategic thinking, and it plays a significant role in why Pakistan's moves often catch the West off guard. Many external observers are accustomed to equating action with visibility. They assume that the most significant developments are the ones announced loudly, debated in public, or reported extensively in media outlets. However, Pakistan's strategy often relies on extensive behind-the-scenes work, meticulous planning, and incremental buildup that occurs well before any outward sign of action is visible. This preparation is not merely operational or tactical, but encompasses political, economic, and diplomatic dimensions simultaneously. By the time the world notices a decisive step, years of groundwork may have already been laid in the form of policy coordination, resource allocation, intelligence gathering, and regional relationship building. This approach draws strength from patience and discipline. Instead of rushing to immediate results or seeking recognition for early efforts, Pakistan invests in creating a strong foundation that maximizes the impact of its eventual moves. For example, strategic partnerships are often nurtured quietly through diplomatic channels, trade agreements, and cultural exchanges that do not attract global headlines. Simultaneously, domestic policies, technological advancements, and infrastructural projects are developed incrementally, positioning the country to act decisively when the timing aligns perfectly with regional or global developments. By operating under the radar, Pakistan reduces the chances of opposition interference, underestimation, or premature counteractions, making the eventual move seem sudden and unexpected. Quiet preparation also allows for flexibility. While external powers may focus on visible indicators and measurable metrics, Pakistan's behind-the-scenes work often includes scenario planning, contingency measures, and adaptive strategies that enable swift recalibration. This adaptability is rarely accounted for in conventional Western analysis, which often assumes linear trajectories of development or conflict. When a move is finally made, it is not a spur-of-the-moment decision, but the culmination of careful observation, timing, and readiness, crafted to exploit opportunities that outsiders may not have even recognized. Moreover, quiet preparation fosters a psychological advantage. The West may perceive Pakistan as reactive or constrained, reinforcing assumptions that it lacks capability or vision. In reality, Pakistan is strategically patient, deliberately cultivating the conditions necessary for maximum leverage. This hidden layer of preparation makes its actions appear surprising, while reflecting a depth of planning that can only be appreciated through an understanding of long-term strategy rather than short-term events. One of the reasons the West often fails to anticipate Pakistan's next big move is the contrast between agility and predictability in strategic thinking. Many Western analyses operate on the assumption that nations will behave according to established patterns, models, or frameworks derived from historical precedent or conventional geopolitical logic. These models favor predictability. They expect countries to act within known boundaries, reacting in ways that are easily measurable and understandable. Pakistan, however, often embraces agility over predictability, making decisions and taking actions that are flexible, adaptive, and sometimes unconventional. This approach allows it to respond to evolving situations in real time rather than being constrained by rigid strategies or preconceived expectations. Agility, in this context, is not random or chaotic. It is informed by careful observation, experience, and situational awareness. Pakistan often studies regional and global trends meticulously, looking for opportunities that others overlook or dismiss. Unlike predictable actors who announce intentions in advance or follow standardized playbooks, Pakistan's strategic behavior can appear erratic or surprising to outsiders. Yet these decisions are calculated, leveraging timing, regional dynamics, and the element of surprise to achieve maximum impact. For instance, a diplomatic initiative, trade partnership, or policy shift may seem sudden from a Western perspective, but it is typically the result of adaptive planning that responds to circumstances that outsiders fail to anticipate. This agility is enhanced by the country's willingness to combine multiple approaches simultaneously. Military, economic, and diplomatic levers can be adjusted and coordinated in ways that defy traditional linear analysis. While Western observers often compartmentalize these dimensions and expect predictable outcomes based on isolated actions, Pakistan integrates them dynamically, allowing for a holistic strategy that is difficult to model from the outside. By avoiding predictability, it gains a strategic advantage opponents cannot prepare for or counter moves they do not see coming. Additionally, agility is supported by a cultural and organizational tolerance for improvisation and risk-taking, while predictable systems often prioritize rules, processes, and risk mitigation. Pakistan sometimes embraces calculated risk, using uncertainty as a tool rather than a constraint. This mindset makes it harder for external powers to forecast intentions, as standard analytical tools rely on the assumption that risk-averse behavior dominates decision-making. By prioritizing agility over predictability, Pakistan creates an environment where the timing, scale, and direction of its moves are difficult to anticipate. Actions that might appear reactive or surprising are, in reality, a reflection of a flexible, responsive strategy that thrives on adaptability, opportunism, and the ability to think outside conventional frameworks. One of the most overlooked aspects of Pakistan's strategic thinking is its focus on long-term vision, rather than immediate or short-term gains. Many Western analysts tend to evaluate countries through the lens of quarterly results, election cycles, or immediate geopolitical consequences. This perspective often prioritizes measurable short-term outcomes over sustained incremental progress. Pakistan, on the other hand, frequently operates with a horizon that spans decades, crafting strategies that may not yield immediate recognition or reward, but are designed to accumulate influence, resources, and leverage over time. This forward-looking approach allows the country to align its decisions with broader regional and global objectives, positioning itself advantageously for opportunities that others might dismiss as distant or speculative. Long-term vision involves patience, careful resource allocation, and the ability to absorb temporary setbacks without losing momentum. Actions that may appear slow, cautious, or reactive to external observers are often deliberate steps in a broader strategic arc. Pakistan invests in strengthening relationships, developing infrastructure, and cultivating partnerships that will bear fruit over years or even decades, creating leverage that cannot be easily disrupted by short-term pressures. Western powers focused on immediate indicators of success often miss these undercurrents, which are invisible in conventional assessments, but critical to understanding the country's eventual moves. This long-term perspective also allows Pakistan to anticipate changes in regional dynamics and global trends, positioning itself to exploit shifts in economic, political, or security landscapes. While others may react impulsively to crises or emerging opportunities, Pakistan's approach involves calculated patience, timing its actions to maximize impact when conditions are most favorable. By thinking decades ahead, the country can plan initiatives that reshape influence, control strategic advantages, or secure partnerships in ways that are gradual but transformative. Moreover, this vision extends beyond political or military considerations into economic and technological arenas. Investments in energy, infrastructure, and regional connectivity may not generate immediate headlines but are critical components of a strategy designed to enhance long-term autonomy and influence. Similarly, diplomatic efforts are often framed with a multi-generational perspective, seeking alliances and understanding that will endure beyond temporary political fluctuations. By prioritizing long-term vision over immediate gratification, Pakistan positions itself to execute moves that appear surprising or sudden to the West, but are, in reality, the result of careful planning and strategic foresight. This perspective creates an advantage in both regional and global arenas, as it enables the country to leverage patience, timing, and sustained effort to achieve outcomes that are not easily anticipated by those focused only on short-term metrics. A crucial reason why Pakistan's next big moves often catch the West off guard is its ability to operate through soft power and strategic partnerships, rather than relying solely on overt displays of force or immediate dominance. Soft power is the subtle influence a nation exerts through relationships, cultural ties, economic cooperation, and diplomacy, which often goes unnoticed by traditional analyses that focus on military strength or visible political maneuvers. Pakistan has long understood that influence is not only derived from direct control, but also from the networks it builds quietly over time. These networks, whether regional alliances, economic collaborations, or cultural exchanges, create a foundation that allows the country to advance its interests in ways that are both sustainable and difficult for outsiders to disrupt. Strategic partnerships play a central role in this approach. By carefully cultivating relationships with key regional players, emerging economies, and international stakeholders, Pakistan positions itself to access resources, intelligence, and support that may not be immediately visible to external observers. These partnerships often operate quietly, outside the scrutiny of mainstream media or traditional geopolitical analysis. While the West tends to focus on headline-making agreements or conflicts, Pakistan leverages smaller, less publicized collaborations that accumulate influence over time, allowing for coordinated actions that appear sudden or unexpected when they are executed. This approach magnifies the country's strategic reach while minimizing direct confrontation or exposure to risk. Soft power also extends to the domestic and regional levels. Pakistan often invests in initiatives that enhance cultural understanding, economic interdependence, and diplomatic goodwill. This might include trade facilitation, infrastructure projects, educational exchanges, or support for regional initiatives that align with its interests. These actions, though subtle, shape perceptions and create conditions favorable to Pakistan's strategic goals. By the time a significant move is made, the groundwork laid through these partnerships and soft power channels ensures that the country is in a position of relative strength and influence. Another important aspect is the element of timing. Soft power and partnerships allow Pakistan to act when conditions are optimal, rather than being forced into reactive positions. Unlike predictable strategies that rely on immediate confrontation or visible displays of capability, Pakistan's approach builds a reservoir of influence that can be drawn upon at the decisive moment. This makes its actions appear sudden or unforeseen from the outside, while internally they are the result of careful cultivation, patient negotiation, and strategic alignment. Through the careful use of soft power and strategic partnerships, Pakistan gains leverage in ways that are subtle, sustainable, and difficult for external powers to anticipate, creating an environment where its next move seems surprising yet entirely calculated and intentional. One of the most significant reasons the West often fails to predict Pakistan's next big moves is its underestimation of the country's deep cultural intelligence and nuanced understanding of local dynamics. Cultural intelligence goes beyond language or tradition. It encompasses an intimate knowledge of social behaviors, regional variations, historical relationships, and the informal networks that shape decision-making. Pakistan's leaders and strategists are often attuned to these subtleties, allowing them to make decisions that resonate locally while creating ripple effects that extend regionally and internationally. Outsiders, particularly Western analysts, frequently rely on quantitative data, policy statements, or formal institutional analysis, which may overlook the qualitative factors that actually drive behavior on the ground. This creates a blind spot, where seemingly unpredictable moves are, in reality, rooted in a sophisticated understanding of complex social and cultural patterns. Local insights also provide Pakistan with an advantage in anticipating public sentiment, economic trends, and political undercurrents. By understanding how communities, provinces, or interest groups are likely to react, decision-makers can craft policies that achieve maximum effect while minimizing resistance. This level of insight is rarely visible in conventional analyses that focus on macroeconomic indicators, military assets, or diplomatic agreements. For example, a policy or initiative may appear sudden to international observers, but it has been carefully calibrated based on years of observing local conditions, regional rivalries, and internal dynamics. The West often misses this because its framework assumes uniformity in political or social behavior, underestimating the layers of complexity that inform Pakistan's strategies. Cultural intelligence also extends to regional and international contexts. Pakistan often leverages its understanding of neighboring countries' social and political environments to craft partnerships, negotiate agreements, or exploit opportunities that appear subtle but carry strategic weight. By appreciating the motivations, histories, and perceptions of others, Pakistan can anticipate reactions and plan moves that are effective yet largely invisible until executed. This insight allows the country to operate in spaces where external powers may assume they have predictive clarity, only to find themselves surprised by the timing, scope, or impact of Pakistan's actions. Moreover, cultural intelligence enables flexibility and adaptability. When unexpected events occur, Pakistan can adjust its approach based on deep knowledge of local networks, traditions, and communication channels. This responsiveness is difficult for outsiders to model, as they often underestimate the importance of informal systems and nuanced social signals in shaping outcomes. By integrating cultural intelligence and local insights into its strategic thinking, Pakistan creates a significant asymmetry. What appears unpredictable externally is often the result of careful observation, deep understanding, and sophisticated application of contextual knowledge. In conclusion, the story of Pakistan's next big move is not one of luck or sudden brilliance. It is a story of vision, patience, and understanding that goes beyond what the world often sees. From mastering the nuances of local context to building influence quietly, from embracing agility over predictability to planning with a long-term perspective, from leveraging soft power and strategic partnerships to deeply understanding cultural and regional insights, Pakistan has demonstrated a remarkable ability to act when the time is right. What the West perceives as surprise is, in reality, the culmination of careful preparation, strategic foresight, and intelligent execution. This teaches us that true success is rarely instantaneous. It is the product of consistent effort, clarity of vision, and the courage to act decisively when the moment arrives. I wish each one of you the very best as you embark on your own journeys of understanding, strategy, and action. May you have the patience to prepare, the courage to act, and the wisdom to see beyond the obvious. Good luck, and thank you for your attention and engagement today.